Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad to see you tuned into the Montavoo Picks. Today, we gonna talk about something I was kind of talking about last video. Last video, we were talking about mass shootings and my idea of how to prevent them. At least the best that my knowledge can prevail at the given moment when I just found out this news. It's not something I've really dwelled on, but it's something that dives into the philosophy of human nature. I talked about raising your children. Now, if you're new to my channel, you don't really see my parenting videos, and you don't understand my parenting concepts. But if you go back into the past, you'll definitely see a bunch of them. I have like 240 videos, I'd say, something like that. A huge chunk of videos. And a lot of those videos have to do with parenting and properly raising your children in the best environment, the best ways, with a duality, an old school, old-fashioned type relationship status. And that duality of man and woman being around, not single motherhood, is very important for a child. And I also was talking about in the last video about making sure that your kid's inclusive. Now, I want to dive into a little bit more about parenting and how to make sure your kids are raised to the best of your abilities. So in the last video, I was talking about don't go into, or put your kids into public schooling because, well, they're becoming indoctrinated. And two, because you're abandoning them and giving them to somebody else to take care of your kids. And they're in a huge environment where there's tons of victims and defenseless people and children, and that's not a good environment. So that's just an overall not good environment. All the children are competing. There's like 30 to 1 on the classroom size or whatever it is, depending on the school, obviously. And it's just not a good environment. It's not a good raising process. Now, we have fundamentally and evolutionarily been able to have two parents, father and mother. They both have their roles. Again, go back into my whole archive of videos talking about those roles and the most important parts of relationships and all that shit. Go back in the past and check those out. So they both have their roles, and they both have an influence on the child, and they're both supposed to be raising their child, not giving it to the state, not giving it to the child to a babysitter, not doing any of that. Doing it yourself. Yeah, it's very old school mentality, but trust me, it works. So the problem with bringing your child to school that I see the worst part of is abandonment. And there's many levels of abandonment that we're seeing now from children. Children are more abandoned now than ever in human history. Yes, go back into human history. Go through it. Find a time frame that's worse than today. You're not going to find it. Now, child abandonment's beyond an all-time high. Higher than last generation, which was higher than the generation before, which was higher than the generation before, and it's just becoming worse and worse. Single motherhood. I blame both. I blame the father and the mother for single motherhood. Single mom makes bad decisions. The father makes bad decisions. Two bad decisions. Having a child with somebody that doesn't have their child's interest at heart. Very selfish people, generally. Right? So, get the father out of the equation. I'll raise them. The kid's going to be fine. But they don't think about psychology or any type of problems that might happen with the child. So, they throw the kid in school, put him on Ritalin, or her on Ritalin, or whatever the case. Make sure that they conform and that they're being raised by the state. That's a wrong process. See, if you had a dual relationship, a man and a woman, well, only one needs to work. I don't care which. Just as long as the kid gets breastfed and is well taken care of, it doesn't really matter. I'll be the stay-at-home dad if needed. Doesn't matter. As long as the child knows that there's the parent, the one who's supposed to be caring for the child, around. And if you're going through life and throwing your kid on to someone else all the time, that's abandonment. There's going to be repercussions for it. there's going to be repercussions. There's going to be devastating effects as consequences because of your decision making. Now, other than that type of abandonment, there's another type of abandonment. It's called spanking. That's the most widely used, at least in the Western world. Spanking. It's kind of retarded when you think about it. But we're going to have to talk about spanking now. Why shouldn't you spank your child? Well, you are creating a traumatic effect, a traumatic psychology. I'm terrible at words, man. I ain't that smart. A terrible psychoactive and tons of different problems. The kid's going to have a huge traumatic consequence from this. And this would be like when you're spanking your child, A, they're getting beat on by the one that cares for them. Any bell ringing yet? You're hitting your child because they did something that you didn't want them to do. And that's ridiculous. You should be explaining, hey, that's not good because of X, Y, and Z. Nope. I'm going to just say, you know what? I selfishly have a bad day, so let's spank the child. Well, what's going to happen? Well, if you watch my punishments video, which I keep suggesting you guys to watch, which I'm sure you haven't yet, we're going to dive into a little bit about that. What happens is the child is not going to learn his lesson or her lesson. It's not going to be learned. The only thing the child's going to learn is that my parent, the one who's supposed to love me more than anybody else and take care of me, is not somebody to trust. This person has no problem with forcing themselves on me. You know, bullying. That is essentially bullying. A bigger person beating up on a smaller person. That's called bullying. I don't know if you've ever seen the definition in the dictionary on it, but that's it. You're bullying your child. You're violently abusing your child. Your child's crying. Your child's not having fairy tales and rainbows and a beautiful time, sunshine. That's not what's going on during your spanking. Don't be delusional. Child's screaming, they're having a traumatic effect, and you're just thinking, well, I gotta do it. Gotta do it. I don't want to do it, but I gotta do it. You're fucking delusional. You don't have to do that. They're not going to learn from that. They're going to learn that they cannot trust a parent, which is going to create a distance between. So the parent is going to have eyes, and they have eyes and ears, and if they find out that their child does something wrong and they're going to spank their child, the kid's going to learn, well, I don't want to be spanked and harassed and abused, so I'm going to avoid that in which is going to get me spanked. Never teaches the reality. Never shows the child the way. If your kid's 4 years old and you're spanking your kid, there's something wrong with you. Kid's still developing. And in their psyche, in the back of their mind, they're going to know that or believe that bullying's right. Bullying's okay. That's how you get things done. If somebody does something to you, beat them up. That's what you do. And you see this especially in the cities. Somebody pranks a guy or kid, doesn't matter, from the city, which generally got spanked. They think, well, violence is the answer. My parents taught me violence is the answer. So then you're going to be developed as violence is the answer. And as a man, this is going to make you more and more apt to get in fights at school, or boy, you know, the male gender, if you believe in two genders. In the male gender, they're more apt to, from this, to become more violent in their crimes. They tend to go into jail and prison more. They tend to just be overall more violent and care less about other people. It develops, or what's the opposite of developing? It denounces their ability for empathy, for lack of a better way of putting it. Women tend to be more abusive as well. They tend to do things because they might have an upper hand. So this is a result from spanking. This is something that is real. This is something that you can empirically prove through evidence. You find statistics on this all the time, just Google it. So it doesn't teach the child not to hurt somebody. It doesn't teach the child not to do what it is that you didn't want the child to do. What it teaches them is to stay away from you finding out. Go around you finding out. The kid beat some other kid up at school, well, they're going to realize, well, that information made it to my parents, and my parents beat me up. Spanked. So what I'm going to do now is find that kid, and I'm going to take him to the flagpole where there's no teachers around. Or I'm going to find this kid at the mall. And if I see him at the mall, I'm going to beat him up. And then get out of there before anyone finds out, or whatever, right? They're going to do what it is that they want to do at a much deeper level. You find, again, this goes back to my punishments video. You're somebody who went to jail because of selling crack on the streets. Well, when you get out on the streets, you're not going to stop selling crack. You're going to find out, you're going to figure out how it is to not get caught. You're going to figure out the loopholes, how you're not going to get caught. Don't say anything on the phone this time, because that got me caught last time. You understanding this? Punishments don't do anything. It only creates the problem worse, because they're going to double down on that in which that they have already done. So punishments is not a good thing. And then you're adding abuse on top of that. So this is also creating distance from the child and the parent. So the child, and I gotta state this once again, I never, ever, 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 ever blame the child. Never, under any circumstance, do I ever blame a child for doing something. Never. You know who I blame? 100% of the time? The parents. It's a result of the parents. So, as a parent, it's your job to not have your child grow up to be a violent psychopath. It's your job to not have your child bullying others. It's your job to have you and your husband or wife together taking care of your child. Again, when you're bringing your child to school or whatever, you're abandoning them for 8 hours a day. 30-minute bus ride there, 6 hours at school, 6 hours back, whatever it is, 7 hours. I don't know how long school is. I haven't been there in a long time. So my idea here is to stop having this abandonment issue. Because when you're spanking your child, it's creating distance. If somebody just beat me up, you think I want to just hang out with that person who just beat me up? Hey, let's watch a movie. No! Neither does the child. The child wants to create as much distance as possible. So if something was to go around in school, or wherever they are, and they're away from you, and they come to you, they're not going to tell you that something just happened. They might have just gotten their lunch money stolen for the last 3 years. They ain't going to tell you. They're just going to give up their lunch money. Why? Because they lost that association, that bond with the parent. And it's up to the parent to ask the child, hey, what's going on? I see it in your eyes. There's something wrong with you. It's up to the parent to do this and figure out what's wrong with the child. It's up to the parent. And again, if you can't reason with a fucking 4-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old or any age, there's something wrong with you that you need to fix. If you can't reason with an 8-year-old and you have to beat him because of that, something wrong with you. Now, I've already established this many times in the past, but I get new subscribers. Violence is a result of low IQ and environment and parenting tactics. But it's a lower IQ thing. It's, I don't have the ability to reason or use logic, or it doesn't have to be critical thinking, just the ability to use logic and reasoning. Because you don't have that, your only other option is to use force. That's what you're doing when you're spanking your child. You don't have the ability to reason. So how about you learn how to reason? You figure out things. You learn things. And then you help your child learn things. Learn together. Both of you learn how to reason and use logic. Look at evidence data and extrapolate what is real and what is not, and variables or whatever. You know, who, what, when, where, why, how. You see a deer track in the snow, well, you go through all those who, what, when, where, why, hows, and then you figure out where it was, how long ago it happened, did it snow recently. You can figure out everything else by just asking questions. But if you're just beating your child, it's not fixing the problem. The fact that I have to say this is just ridiculous, but I'm sure I'm going to get hate in the comments. So this is creating distance with your children. Single motherhood is a terrible thing to do to your child. Terrible. Because A, you're not going to give your child what it is that your child needs. Your child needs a mother and a father. Whether it's a little boy, little girl, or a boy and a girl, 2 boys, 2 girls, 10 children, doesn't fucking matter. You need a father and a mother. And you don't need both parents to work. I've said this many times in my videos. Let's say the man's working. He's only making $20K a year. That's not enough for a family. As a wife or girlfriend of this person, well, if you didn't work and you provided value at home, which is the best kind of relationship ever, the most statistically proven happiest women on the planet are stay-at-home moms, you know, with their children. What's more beautiful than that? I don't get it. If I was a mom, I would love that shit. I kind of want it as a dad, but I'm not going to be that guy because I have too many dreams and ambitions. But the point is, guys making $20K a year, if you're staying at home, you're doing the things that you're doing, and you're being a good person, and you're providing great value to that man and your children or future children, and you're making it obvious that you're going to stay with this man and do all these good things and create all this good value, you think that man is going to want to just make $20K a year still? Come on. No. He's going to go above and beyond to provide more. You're going to see it. It might not be right off the bat, but trust me, this guy's going to have to take care of his family, whether he wants to or not. So that also provides value back. You put in what you're going to get back in that duality relationship between a man and a woman. Again, we can switch these roles. It doesn't necessarily matter. But a child needs a mother and a father. The greatest part about this in our evolutionary process was man goes out, gets resources, whether that's food, money, clothing, just killed a deer and whatever. Made some tools, got some firewood, whatever, right? Resource. Dad comes back with resources to the cave. Resources because he gives a fuck and he cares. Well, what? The wife, mommy to the children, is there breastfeeding, creating value for the homestead, cleaning up a little bit, doing the things she has to do. And this is beautiful because the yin and yang. There's a balance there. Children are going to be there and inclusive. The child's going to be included in a scenario. And when a child feels included, they feel loved. They feel like they're part of it. They feel part of the group. When you're sending your child off to school as a single mother, and you're off at work trying to get whatever $7, $8, $9, $10 an hour job just to put some extra stuff on the table because you decided to have a man that was AKA the government to take care of your welfare and your benefits and your food stamps and shit like that. Because you chose the government instead of a man, you're getting peanuts. And now your child is in a very shitty situation. And why? Because you're selfish. You and the man. You both made a fucking bad decision. And you both got to wake up to that. So the child gets bounced around. And the important thing here is that when the child's being bounced around, they're not included. They don't feel like part of the tribe. They don't have a caregiver. They have a mother figure not being a mother. How fucking sad. Go back a few videos. I made 2 videos about fathers. I encourage you guys to watch those. We need fathers. Fathers are very, very, very important, and I discuss why in those videos, so go check those out. So, try to have your child included. Set up the paradigm to get your child included. Set it up, make it happen. Good father, good mother, great results. Alright? But if you're just trying to, as a woman, you find some dude that's a little fly, or he's tall, dark, and handsome, whatever the fucking weird thing that you get about, you find that and then realize that, hey, well, what happened? Not a good father. And guess what? You're not a good mother. I know it's tough for you guys to understand this, but you're the blame. I'm not blaming the child. I'm blaming you. You made those decisions. And you can say, well, I was young and dumb. Yeah, you were. Now you're getting it. You were young and dumb and made a terrible decision. Okay? That was you. So, yes, I'm pointing the finger at the parents. I will always point the finger at the parents. I will never blame the child. It is immoral. It's immoral because the point is, you raised that to be that way. Fuck the external factors. Doesn't really matter. Were you around your children daily, helping your child, teaching your child, raising your child, showing what a great mother and father you are? Or did you have a child as a dude and leave? Or just because she said something bitchy one day, and then you just upped and left, I ain't dealing with this shit, now it's your thing to deal with. This is your fault. No, it's your fault, motherfucker. Now you're a woman on this side. Let's keep that same scenario. As a woman, you're bitchy. You were bitchy, you said some slidey bullshit. I'll fuck all your friends. I don't give a fuck about you. We don't even need you in this family. You don't make enough money. You'll never amount to nothing. Whatever, right? Bitchy. You're a piece of shit too. Neither of you made good decisions. Neither of you talked about how you're going to raise that child before the sexual act. Neither of you guys discussed it. Both of you are to blame. You both know how to have children. You both went and did that act of having children. You had a child. You never talked about this? Come on. You never talked about this. So, again, I encourage you guys to homeschool, but even more unschool. I encourage you guys to unschool your children, or at least homeschool your children. This will create a more of a bond and an inclusiveness. Like, your child's gonna be part of the team. And don't talk and act to your child like you're superior, because you're not. You made a person. All you are is a person. They're just little people with less understanding of the world around them. That's where you come in. You give them care. You nurture that child. When your child's not doing well, you make sure that they flourish in the environment that they are in. If your tomatoes are being rotted in your garden, you don't fix the tomato, you fix the environment where the tomato is growing so it can flourish. This is going to apply to your children. You can't raise your children properly if you're creating a distance. When your child wants to be locked in their room or constantly wanting to leave the house and go to other people and stuff, it's a direct result of they don't want to be around you. And I know it's hard for some people to understand that. I'm in my 30s. I'm very family oriented. When I'm home, on my 1 day off a week, which is generally less than a day off a week, but when I'm home, I don't do selfish things. I don't go out and party. I don't do that shit. Guess what I do? I go see my family. My parents. I go see my family. My brother's in prison. I go visit my brother. Spend a whole day at a prison just to see my brother, which is 2.5 hours away. Drive there 2.5 hours. I'm there for 2.5 hours. I drive back in 2.5 hours. You make a day out of it, and it's not the best environment, but that's how much I love my brother. Right? The point is that I'm getting here. Make sure your child's included. Make sure you're making the right decisions so your kid doesn't grow up as a depressed, crazed psychopath. That's where the result of these school shootings are coming from. Parenting. Parenting's the issue. It's not video games. It's not rap music. It's not even antidepressants, which all three of them are factors, but those factors can never infiltrate your child if you're a great parent. They can't. They can't infiltrate if you, as a parent, know how to reason, use logic, and reason with your child. You don't just beat up on them and bully them into your ways of doing things. They're another person. They're not you. You don't just beat up people, especially little kids. It's fucking sick. Alright. Before I go out for a 30-minute rant, I'll leave it at that. But stay tuned for more content. I'm definitely going to bring you guys the rest of my series. I have I realized I counted in my head how many different subjects I have for this video series. I have 8 more 30 to 40 minute videos to do on that series. So stay tuned. I'm definitely going to have them coming up soon. See ya.